Welcome to Sunny's Mindset Lab. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Myles Munroe, the author of Waiting and Dating, a sensible guide to a fulfilling love relationship. We're exploring God's design for relationships, the purpose of dating, and how to build a love life based on wisdom, purpose, and spiritual maturity. Dr. Munroe, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to share these principles because relationships were never meant to be confusing or painful. When we understand their purpose, everything becomes clear. To help our listeners, I'd love to break this down into 4 key areas. First, we'll talk about the foundation of readiness, then the true purpose of dating. After that, we'll debunk some common myths, and finally, we'll outline God's divine order for building a relationship.
That sounds perfect. So let's start right there with readiness. A question I hear all the time is, how old should I be before I start dating? But your work suggests that's not even the right question to ask, is it?
That's correct. The true measure of readiness is not chronological age, it is maturity. I see 3 key signs of this maturity. First, you are aware of both the benefits and the dangers of dating. The benefit is friendship, but the danger is getting physically and emotionally entangled too soon. Second, you must understand your own standards, your own values, before you're in a tempting situation. And third, and this is crucial, you have to resolve in your heart not to compromise those standards. That firmness is a sign of true readiness.
That makes so much sense. It's about being prepared. You have a quote that I find so profound and almost paradoxical. You say, "You are ready to date when you don't need to." What does that mean?
It means that if you are looking for another person to complete you, to fix you, or to make you happy, you are not ready for a healthy relationship. That comes from a place of need, of deficiency. A relationship built on need is really just 2 half people trying to make a whole, and it never works. A healthy relationship comes from choice. It's 2 whole, complete individuals, content in themselves, who choose to share their lives from a place of strength, not desperation.
So this idea of wholeness is key. You describe something called true singleness. Can you explain that concept? It seems to be the antidote to that neediness.
It is. Look at the example of Adam in the garden. He was whole, he was complete, and he was consumed with his purpose before a partner was ever introduced. True singleness is that time when you become so consumed by God and your purpose that He literally has to interrupt you to bring another person into your life. The relationship becomes a divine interruption, not a desperate search.
I love that image of a divine interruption. But I can hear people thinking, okay, that sounds wonderful, but it raises a very practical question. If I'm not actively looking for someone, how am I supposed to find a partner? And it's a fair question. The answer lies in a core spiritual principle. You don't find the right person by looking for them. You find them by focusing on your own path, your own purpose. The best place to find the right person is on the road you're already meant to be on. When you're walking in your purpose, the right person, someone who is walking in the same direction, at the same pace, will naturally come alongside you. You'll simply meet them on the way.
That perspective changes everything, doesn't it? It shifts the focus from a frantic search to just walking your path. This brings us perfectly to our next point. If dating isn't about frantically searching for a spouse, what is its true purpose?
Its true purpose is friendship. It's an evaluation period for friendship. You see, friendship develops in stages. It begins with just being an acquaintance. Then, it might grow into a casual friendship based on common interests. But the deeper levels are where it gets serious. Close friendship is where you discover you have mutual life goals. And the deepest level is what I call intimate friendship. This has nothing to do with physical intimacy. It's about a mutual commitment to help each other grow in character.
So the dating period should really be about testing and building that friendship. That's why I always say, don't marry your lover, marry your friend. You see, romantic love is often just chemistry, and chemistry changes. But a marriage built on deep, genuine friendship, well, that's a foundation that can withstand any storm. The purpose of dating is to grow a friend, not just groom a lover.
A foundation of friendship over fleeting feelings. That is such a crucial distinction. But building this kind of relationship is often complicated by some common cultural myths. So let's move on and debunk a few of those.
Absolutely. Let's start with a really damaging one. The idea that there is only one perfect person out there for you, your one and only soulmate. That is simply not true. The truth is, there are likely thousands of people who could be suitable partners for you. This myth creates immense pressure and sets people up for failure and guilt. The reality is that a successful marriage isn't about finding the one, It's about choosing one suitable person and then making a commitment to them.
And that leads right into the next myth, which is that God will just choose your spouse for you. Again, this is false, because it would violate the principle of free will. God is a guide. He will give you wisdom, He will present options, but He never forces a choice. The final choice, and the responsibility that comes with it, always remains with you.
So the responsibility of choice, guided by wisdom, is ours. That's a very empowering idea. With that in mind, Dr. Munroe, let's turn to our final section, the divine order. What is the actual process for building a relationship that lasts?
First, it is about using the right standard for your evaluation. The world tells you to focus on temporary, external things, physical appearance, social status, money, but those are unstable foundations. God's standard is to focus on the permanent, internal qualities, a person's character, their values, their integrity. That is the foundation that is built to last.
That's why I say don't be preoccupied with how a person looks, but with what kind of a person he or she is. You know, talents and looks can be gifts, but character has to be built. And that friendship building process we talked about, that's what gives you the time you need to see a person's true character revealed.
And this brings us to the most important part, the sequence. God's order for a relationship must progress this way. First, you connect in the spirit. You unite on common faith, purpose, and values. That's the foundation. Next, you connect in the soul, the mind, the will, the emotions. Only after those two are established and a marriage commitment is made does it progress to the third level, the body, or physical union.
The problem is that modern dating completely reverses this order. It starts with the body, with physical attraction, and this leads to so much confusion and heartache because people become physically entangled before they have any idea if they are spiritually or emotionally compatible. The message is very simple. If you want God's results, you must follow God's order. There's no other way.
Dr. Munroe, thank you for sharing these powerful principles from Waiting and Dating. This conversation will help so many people build relationships with clarity, patience, and purpose. It really leaves us with a vital question to reflect on. Are you building your relationships on a foundation of purpose and friendship, or on the world's fleeting standards? It's been my pleasure. When we align with God's purpose for relationships, love becomes fulfilling instead of frustrating. This has been Sunny's Mindset Lab. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next episode.